Welcome everyone to the Dungeon Mother. My name is Tina, and today we are going to continue our story for the Waves of Time. Previously, in the Waves of Time, our heroes were confronted with a dark reminder of their past. Raucus the Rancid had strolled into the Keystone Roadhouse, collecting the corpses of fallen patrons from the inn, dispensing payment to the innkeepers before disappearing into the mists. Before long, our players began to discuss whether or not they should go searching for him, and to seek a means to unveil his master's plans. Among them, Persephone found herself unable to make a decision, especially due to the pain involved from her past. Since Maeve and Raucus are heavily involved in her torment, Persephone's desire to flee is stronger than her will to go towards them. With those memories running through her mind, and the revelation that her lineage carries demonic taint, the evening left Seth restless to the point of insomnia. Eventually Ping joined her, finding it difficult to sleep as well. As morning sheds light through the window, their conversation dances from subject to subject. Eventually, Ping reveals through this conversation that she can go to the land of the dead, also known as the Brine, and that she has gone there many times before on behalf of Nine-Eye. Upon hearing this, the death-obsessed Persephone grows excited and desires to go to the plane. She convinces Ping that they should go, and it doesn't take much for the young kitten to want to share her talents. Despite their eagerness, they agree to wait for Kahame to finish his breakfast downstairs before they decide to go. Panning to the first floor of the inn, we find Kahame and Sal eating their fill, when all of a sudden, a real Dragonborn steps into the room. She is a purple-scaled draconic woman, clad in leathers and armed to the teeth. Her sudden appearance does little to pull Kahame from his meal, until she begins to ask questions about Raucus the Rancid. With the name uttered, Kahame gravitates towards the mysterious Dragonborn. Through conversation and quick investigation, he soon learns that she has been hired to gather information on behalf of Lord Yordgrim. Apparently, Raucus's movements haven't gone unnoticed, and has drawn the attention of the Dwarven Lord from the west. Lana is here to learn whatever she can. Kahame imparts to her that Raucus the Rancid was there the night before, and that he and his allies intend to seek him out. Dungeon Master side note: originally I only planned to have 2 players. I used the NPCs as a means to compensate for challenge rating. At the time, my group and I were convening at Java House every month in Jacksonville, until one day, while I'm setting up and our group is getting ready to start, we are approached by the store's manager. I had made some friendly acquaintance with him and we were on pretty good terms. Following behind him was none other than our future player, Kyle. He was supposed to be meeting with a group around the same time that we were starting. The only problem was that they hadn't shown up yet. So with all of that in mind, the manager asks if we had room for one more player. And honestly, who could say no? Thus Kyle rolled up a new character, and now we have Lana. Every once in a while I get back to how that situation played out and how coincidental it was. But enough of that, let's go ahead and get back to our story. So Persephone and Ping grow impatient waiting for Kahame and head downstairs. They find him chatting with a Dragonborn who introduces herself as Lana. They briefly greet her before honing in on Kahame. Ping and Seth beg and attempt to convince their fellow party members that going to the land of the dead is a good idea. Kahame and Sal obviously have their reservations, but somehow they are convinced to go. In the midst of this conversation, Lana pipes in, stating that if they're going to search for Raucus the Rancid, that she wants to come along as well, especially since Kahame had gifted her with a wealth of information, and had hoped to gather more before returning to her lord. With everyone in agreement, Ping brings everyone upstairs and reveals her power, showing them that she can see the thin line between the planes before stepping through. In an instant, she is gone, and the portal is left open for them. One by one, all of them cautious, aside from Seth, who barrels herself towards the portal, enter into the brine. As they step through to a plane that they've never been to before, a dense substance coats their armor and soaks their clothes, the taste of salt lingering briefly on their tongues as they gather their surroundings. Immediately, they are confronted with a change of appearance. Their forms have become skeletal, and within their rib cages is the glowing orb of their soul. All of them, aside from Ping, have been turned into these skeletal monstrosities. Seth, of course, couldn't be happier, and she declares that she doesn't want to leave at all. Everyone else grumbles at this and takes a look around. They search through the ruins of what turns out to be an ancient yokai temple, specifically Jerugamo, and through shattered mosaics, they coin the details of a war between the Jerugamo and the Tengu. Amongst the rubble, Persephone finds something. She discovers a lavender crystal that illuminates when darkness grows near. She pockets it for safekeeping. Eventually, once they've expended all of their uses of skill checks, they check the outside, discovering that they are in the midst of a clearing with a bordering ominous dark wood around them. At the edge of the wood to the north is a monolith with an inscription: "Travel north and do not stray, lest the yokai take you away." With the warning heavy on their minds, they follow the path to the north, traversing through the eerie, quiet woods. They talk amongst themselves, Kahame, Sal, and Lana questioning exactly why they are here, when all of a sudden Lana takes notice of something in the woods, a dark shape lurking beyond the trees, following them along the path. She walks along with the group, having her hand on her hilt, but staying silent and watching. As they continue their conversation, Ping makes mention that this is Sedna's domain. Persephone, a devoted follower to Sedna, is overwhelmed at the thought of speaking to her. She is completely in her element, unlike everyone else. Excuse the garbage truck sounds, that's normal around this time. You're interrupting story time, but I know you have jobs, so thank you for doing your jobs. Persephone once again influences the group to go seek out Sedna, stating that if anything, the goddess of death should know something about Raucus the Rancid, since he is a death knight. Once everyone is in agreement, they all continue through the path that leads to the opening mouth of a river. A chilled breeze weaves through them as their eyes follow along the river, finding that it runs all the way down towards a frozen lake with a spired glacier in its center. Before they can take any further steps, the creature lurking from the wood springs forward and combat initiates. The group quickly bands together, assuming their roles through dragon's fire, magic, and martial combat. Lana crunches down on a magnesium rock before releasing a torrent of draconic flame. Each blow from the players causes the creature to cry out in a horrendous screech. It roars, and the sound replicates the dying screams of its previous victims. As it lurches forward, striking at each player, a measure of panic rises within each of them. Persephone begins to remember stories that her father, Balimarp, had told her. That this creature is known as a Capra, terrifying yokai that feasts on souls. Realizing that their souls are now on the line, they fight harder, but seek a means to escape. From the distance, Ping notices a ferry coming down from the river. Taking note of it, she calls to her allies, drawing their attention to the boat as one by one they board, Kahame and Sal being the last ones ashore. With the monster in pursuit, Kahame stands off against it. He roars, landing a mighty strike on the ribcage of this creature, and slaying the Capra, driving his trident deep into the ribcage, and releasing glowing orbs that are later to be revealed as souls. Just before the ferry drifts too far, Kahame and Sal board the vessel. The skeletal Roman makes a comment about how the living should not be within the land of the dead, stating that Sedna will not be pleased. And with that, we end our session. I hope you enjoy our story so far. And if you like these videos, show us a little love with the like button and subscribe. We've got quite the journey ahead of us, and it's not going to stop here. Until next time, everyone, have a good day.